Okay, we're live. Hi, Cece. Welcome to Venture with Grace.
Hello. Excited to be here.
To start the show, I would love for the audience to get to know you a little bit more. So I was like literally listening to you on another podcast that like basically you were saying that like you grew up in an immigrant family and then going to like you got into Yale and then people wasn't
Oh,
really
Harvard.
recognizing the brand.
Oh, I guess I did get into Yale.
Yeah. And then like you have to go to Harvard because of like that's like the only name that people actually know from the family. So
Oh, that
um
story.
yeah, why don't we start with like what were some like
Okay.
core lessons that you've learned early on into like in your career that kind of like shape you into who you are today?
Great question. I think to start off with, probably the first thing I learned growing up in kind of like a Chinese immigrant family was probably humility.
Mhm.
Always just keep your head down and work harder than what you see the people working around you. So it was just kind of a heads down, work as hard as you can mentality, and
Mhm.
that probably carries through my entire career.
I love that. I wonder, so like, and then later on, you have work at like Microsoft, Meta, and Bing Capital Ventures, and now you're principal at Menlo. So I think another thing that I heard were really interesting was like, before you enter the career of venture, you were like scouting for a bunch of different funds, and then you will always have like, let's call it like 30 to 50 companies in your network or like in your pipeline that you kind of like monitoring or like just like helping out or just like being friends with. Why don't we start with like, how do you kind of like figure out your journey into venture? Because I feel like it's such a opaque path for most people. And how do you kind of like started like working with founders while, obviously you have like a brief journey in entrepreneurship, but like I guess like how do you kind of like build out the network for yourself?
For me, I was a founder myself, and
Mhm.
being really integrated with the founder community in San Francisco, I was just drawn to the energy of
Mhm.
entrepreneurship in San Francisco at the time. ChatGPT had just come out, and the energy was electric. And I think even before that, just I think I was always drawn to that founder mindset, which is a pretty crazy mindset if you think about it. To set out on your own and try to start something is
Mhm.
just not what most people think of to do, and it's quite terrifying.
Mhm.
When I did it myself, it was I'm glad I did it because I think it gives me even more humility. Whenever I talk to founders now, I never forget that mindset of like
Mhm.
these founders are the ones taking the real risk and taking on that uncertainty, and you feel it every day. And I think that founder mindset of you want to build something so badly that you're willing to take on this crazy journey, I think is so in, just inspiring. And so I think I was very just drawn to the founder ecosystem and seeing how I could help and being as helpful as I could. I had so many other founders who were incredibly helpful to me, and it just made me appreciate that community so much. It felt like very much a non zero sum game, and I think that's what drew me in initially. Yeah, but it was mostly just being a founder myself and getting so much help from other founders and wanting to do the same for others.
For sure. I feel like one of the things about like being a founder, I I constantly do not hear people talk about it enough. It's kind of like there's like no guidance in your own journey. So like you decide on what to do, you decide on like, which is your ideal customer and then go sell it or like go build a product. But like there's no like actual timeline, not like school or like work. So like, at certain level you need to get a promotion or like there's like no like typical path for your own company. I wonder, so like as an investor, like now you're back on the investing side. I feel like one of the things that I kind of like wanted to learn from you is like since you guys invest in like, seed A, B, like you have observed like different company at different stages. How do you set like a milestone as a founder?
set milestones as founders.
Mhm,
It's so different for every company and different type of company.
mhm,
So I taking myself, I guess, one level higher, there's a couple of ways. One is just benchmarking. You just
mhm,
look at companies a step before you or companies in your sector who have succeeded and look at where they were at every stage of their company. But I think honestly, with AI now, the
mhm,
benchmarks have been blown out of the water. Like
mhm,
it used to be amazing, like best in class to get to
mhm,
3 million in revenue for a SaaS company year two, and now it's just not as impressive. Like the benchmarks keep changing, especially with AI. So I think that means that the standards we set are changing as well. So I would
mhm,
say it's understanding the progress you've made and understanding your customer well enough to know what you can achieve in the next year with the runway you have.
mhm. I totally agree. So like one of the things that I was like reading on like your page on Menlo is like you guys collectively wrote a report on the consumer AI, like current state of consumer
Yes,
AI.
yes.
One of the findings I found really interesting was like millennials are like the power user, like people are generally used daily, and then the parents are using AI like 2x more than the non-parents. And then the other part I thought was like really interesting was like people were, like 19%, which is like I think the majority of people using it to like write emails and then do to-do lists and then like doing research. I wonder, and then also like 91% people are sticking with like general AI assistants, which is like ChatGPT or like Google Gemini for everything. So I feel like if people are sticking to these like general purpose um AI model or like AI tools, like what are the I guess like should we invest in the 9% or is there gonna be like a unbundling of the each different subsector slash like the vertical AI agents? How do you think about the general landscape in AI right now for the consumer?
Grace. Oh, sorry, I cut you off.
No, I was just like amazed by the data. I'm like, what should we invest if there's like, 91% people are just using ChatGPT for everything?
I think you ask such a fantastic question. And I mean, I love the way you phrase that question. And my answer to that is what we're seeing, if you saw in the report. So it's true that pretty much all of the money and most of the usage is on the general models. We are seeing higher adoption in a couple of categories. So the AI penetration in a certain categories is much higher than others. So I think the top one is writing and coding, and I need to pull up the report. If you can go to the part where we talk about the highest penetration and the lowest penetration, it's quite interesting. Um, we had a penetration graph. Also, this is cool.
Yeah, this is like, yeah, I was like very amazed by the
Yeah,
report.
right there, right
Yeah,
there.
here, yeah.
So, right. So if you look at this, 51% of people have used AI for writing support, given that a lot of that might be the general models.
Mhm,
But if you look at 47% for coding, and you
mhm,
break that down, there's a lot of specialized tools in there like Cursor, Windsurf, etc. And then for help on assignments, we see some specialized tools in there. For example, PhotoMath, one of our portfolio
mhm,
companies, which helps kids and parents with math. For presentations, there's Gamma. For creating music and audio, there's Suno and Udio. There's 11 Labs. And then for creating images, a lot of folks use Midjourney, and to edit, they use Higgsfield or Creo or other editing platforms. So in these categories, there's specialized tools breaking out and making a ton of revenue. So, oh, and for what else? Oh, learning a new language, there's Speak and others specifically for learning a language. If you look at each of these categories with the highest penetration, what you see is that in the utility function itself, where it's really specific and targeted, and your uh, you want it in in context of what you're doing. For example, in Cursor, in your IDE,
Mhm.
that's where the real value add comes from, is being in the workflow itself, whether it's where you already are completing the task or where it's more well suited for the task. For example, in Speak for language learning, it, it's you can do it in ChatGPT, but it's not going to have the same kind of flow of the lesson plan and the gamification of checking off lessons and progressing, like seeing your progress and following kind of a curriculum over time. Like that's just not something ChatGPT is capable of doing yet. And we invested in Anthropic, and we know folks from OpenAI, and they over and over and over say, hey, we are here to be general purpose models. They're not here to be the vertical tool teaching you how to
Mhm.
speak Spanish. Like that's just not what they're setting out to do. And they're not
Mhm.
going to be verticalizing in the infinite number of verticals that they could be. So that's just impossible. And so if you think about use cases with high utility, high frequency, high friction, high trust, um, those are areas um, where more specialized tools can come in and win. And so if you go down to the lowest penetration, I think it's yeah, right there, I think. Did you just scroll past it?
Yeah, here. Lowest
Yeah.
penetration.
Well, actually no, that's
High frequency, low penetration.
if you go to the white space opportunities where AI
Sorry,
founders
this is a very long report, so I'm like, I just wrote down some stuff that I find like very interesting. Wait, where is it?
yeah, right there.
Yeah.
So we did an analysis of activities that most people do and then sorted it by those with the lowest AI penetration that we think have the highest opportunity for some AI company to break in. And these are just some examples. It's definitely not exhaustive, but the commonality between them is that they're high frequency, so people will engage with it daily or weekly. It's high friction, so they're complex, they can be emotional, they're context dependent, and so you want it in context. And it's high trust, so it's more useful if you have personal history and a nuanced understanding of the space. So like a general model would not serve these purposes as well, especially does that make sense? Like if it's high
Mhm.
friction for you to go do whatever you're doing and
Mhm.
then go copy paste in ChatGPT, go
Mhm.
read it, come back, and then like that's pretty high friction. So if there's something where you just want you're in the workflow itself, for example, um, let's say you're like if we just look at one of these, um, like learning a new sport, if you're out on the track, well,
Mhm.
you have ChatGPT pulled up, looking
Mhm.
at your little phone,
Mhm.
like asking like, you know, how can I run better?
Mhm.
That's just not in context. It's high friction, and also it's high trust. So you would hope that the system understands a lot more of your, whether it's your biomarkers, your what do they call it, like fitness, or your like tracking your health
Mhm.
metrics live as you're running. Like these are all things where a specialized tool could be really interesting. For example, something where it's connecting to your Whoop and your other trackers as you're running, and then
Mhm.
giving you live coaching, for example. Like that would be an interesting tool. I'm not saying go build a company around this. I'm just
Mhm.
saying these are examples where it would be more useful to use a specialized, like a special purpose AI tool than
Mhm.
just ChatGPT.
For sure. Wait, I have some questions there. Oh, by the way, hi Jabinder. I want to say hi to like the audience who comments, or like it kind of like reflects, so like reflect through StreamYard.
Oh, I
But
didn't
anyway,
even know there was a chat. How do you see the chat?
Yeah. So it's just like on the
Oh,
comments. Yay.
this is
That's
cool.
what.
I've never
Yeah.
done this before.
I know it's like I feel like coming from the crypto era, streaming is like a thing. So in terms of like, one thing I saw lately, it's like I went to the Vercel like accelerator demo day. So like there's like people building um cursor for writing, and then I lately just seen a lot of like rethink about like email writing AI tools popping up. So obviously like writing is like one of the most popular activity people are using ChatGPT to do. So how is there like something that you've seen in the space that are like truly stand out? Or like do you feel like something like this will always be dominated by like, Gmail, like the mainstream like
You mean
platforms?
writing itself?
Yeah, like writing itself, like in the writing sector or like in something that's
I
yeah.
think it's completely going to be this ambient kind of proactive AI. So
Mhm,
there's not going to be this flow where you think about something, go type something in ChatGPT, it
mhm,
regurgitates something, you iterate with it, and then you have to go paste it back in. I think
mhm,
that every surface where you can
mhm,
imagine writing on is
mhm,
going to have this proactive kind of always on ambient intelligence AI that will be there for you to approve things.
mhm,
Like I think the future is, and I'm seeing this in a ton of specialized tools, whether it's sales tools or
mhm,
like work tools, or I've probably evaluated, many dozens of
mhm,
email tools where it
mhm,
just queues up all of your emails and I just approve the draft.
mhm,
Pretty soon we're I mean, it's going towards a world where everyone has their agent and the agent is talking to the
mhm,
other agent.
mhm.
And basically, like most emails you get could have, you know how there's the meme, it's like this could have
Yeah.
been done with an email. Well,
Mhm,
that email is going to be like agent to agent communication in the future,
mhm,
where you just cut that whole rigmarole.
mm,
So I think I'm excited about in context writing, where it's not just like, what is the purpose of writing? If the purpose of writing is to express yourself fully and create creatively, then sure, there's creative writing. Like you could kind of talk to AI like a writer friend where you bounce ideas off of each other. But I think for anything else like communication, writing that's meant as communication to get something done, I think that will just become a lot more intelligent, where either you just don't need to do it at all, you just have to approve the actions,
mhm.
or it's done proactively by the AI.
I totally agree. I wonder, so like when maybe we could start with like one of your recent investment in Alta. So like I think it's a definitely a super interesting app, but I feel like fashion is always like a really crowded space. Let me just quickly share screen about this Alta article. Um so I feel like I also met the founder at the New York Tech Week, and then I thought what they're building is like definitely super cool. And then um, maybe we could start with like, for example, since you have built a really strong personal brand in the consumer AI space, why don't we talk about like what are some consumer AI company that you feel like will have the right to win? Since like most of the stuff is very the moat is like not super deep as like a lot of it is like building the distribution. A lot of people are really focusing on marketing, even the like for example, I would say like I've just used like a very popular example, which is like Cluely, which is like a former guest of our show too. So they have been really focusing on like creating videos or like creating these like online content to generate traction for the company. But in your mind, like for a consumer AI company to succeed, what are some I guess like what are some ways that you can like differentiate from like one AI fashion company to the other?
Yeah, the great questions. So I'll start with the thesis around this and where this
Mhm,
came about. what AI has the opportunity to do is democratize a lot of services that were previously unavailable to the mass consumer.
Mhm,
So if we came in with that thesis of what is AI enabling people to do now that
mhm,
they previously couldn't. And AI stylist is an obvious one because every celebrity has a stylist. A
mhm,
lot of high net worth individuals have stylists. Um, Most people would love a stylist. I
mhm,
think the question every day of, what do I wear today? I think
mhm,
most people at some point have that. Maybe definitely not all. My partner wears the same thing most days,
mhm,
but for a lot of us, that question of what do I wear today is a daily thing I have to deal with. And for the first time ever, AI can truly make that. If you watch the Clueless show, for
mhm,
the first time ever, it's like this is a reality for a couple of reasons. I mean, just it, I kind of worked in this space when I was at Meta, and the intelligence, like the visual intelligence, was just not there to understand to be able to understand fashion. And even today, it's a very complex, nuanced problem. And so I'll touch on Alta's moat later, but in terms of investing in this space, it was for the first time ever. The tech is there, the kind of customer service element is there because LLMs provide this natural language feel where you feel like you're talking to someone, and so this service oriented service level um, experience is now democratized for everyone. And then if you think about shopping, like the experience of shopping hasn't changed in a century. So
mhm,
when before mass production, like people would go to a tailor and everyone would get tailored clothing for themselves. Then you get mass production and everyone wears the same things now. Like you get sizes, like, right, like
mhm.
even sizes and styles are given to you. And with Alta, your question was around like, what is the moat here, or like what was the question?
I guess like what is it what is Alta like differentiated how does like Alta differentiated themselves with like other, AI fashion company? I feel like this is a very popular idea that has been like in the centuries, like people are trying to do something like this, like personalized shopping or like, try on kind of process. Like in the past, I guess like it was like the looks are like not very accurate. Like you look like your friend, look like your mom. Like so basically
Yeah,
everyone looked
especially for us
like
Asians.
exactly. I feel like the avatars are like exactly the same from anyone that's like just generally have like the same hair color and like eye color. Um, I guess like one of it is like maybe like the personalized aspect to it, but like how do you think about like the business perspective? Obviously, it's like fashion is like a really $1 trillion market. Everybody have to wear something to somewhere. But how do you think about like, at the beginning, like who do you think this is like the um I guess like how do you think about the company's like monetization strategy or go to market or how do you make like I guess how do you think about like a consumer company or a consumer AI company can win in its own like category?
Yeah, and especially in commerce, it's well, for consumer, it's always user experience. It's
Mhm,
the consumer experience that wins is the one that is the most frictionless, the brings the most delight to use. And I think a lot of consumer founders um, could probably prioritize like just design from the get
mhm,
go. I think for consumer, every little bit of friction is monumentally disastrous. So
mhm,
I think for the end user, it's just that experience. And then it's for fashion specifically, it is so difficult for AI to understand the nuances of fashion,
mhm,
right? From understanding that like you need a boot cut pants to fit over certain shoes, to the weight of certain materials, so that tweed can't sit over, or like you can't put like a like a silk jacket over like a tweed undershirt or over linen. Like the weights of fabrics don't work, or
Mhm.
certain patterns, and taste, individual taste is so nuanced, and everyone's style will differ. So it's a very complex um, problem for AI. And so we were looking for a founder who really understood the tech and how to build that intelligent model that can understand all the nuances of fashion, and someone who is very embedded into the fashion industry, because in order to succeed, it's it's being able to understand the nuances of fashion themselves as a founder and have the connections within the fashion industry to bring that to life. And then third, speed. So you're right, there's a ton of fashion AI companies. So it's who can build the fastest, iterate the quickest, and be at the forefront of this race. And so, I mean, I know Jenny from Harvard. We go way back, and I've seen
Mhm.
her passion. Um, Anyone who knows Jenny knows she's been passionate about fashion, and
Mhm.
she's incredibly well embedded in the space. Um, she's also incredibly technical. So she, in the beginning, wrote all the code herself. Even today, she's coding probably right now.
Mhm.
Um, Very technical and understands deeply, and that was so rare, is like the founder who is able to have a very deep understanding of fashion and then put that into the product itself through the technical implementation, end to end. And also just probably the most hardworking person I know. She is always working. I actually told her, you have to take a vacation, because she's just constantly working, and she's so focused on bringing this vision to life. So just that trifecta, it was like everything we were looking for. Otherwise, this space is incredibly hard to make a bet in. It is a very crowded, hard space especially when you're targeting fashion, which is so individual, and for a user to have a delightful experience, you need to be so hyper personalized, because fashion is so hyper personalized to the individual. So if I mean anyone can try the app today, and the avatar generation is lightning fast. It's best in class, and the outfit generations, like
Mhm.
internally see um, over time, just
Mhm.
we see the model improving. And we 50x quarter over quarter, like the I mean, both the users and the generations have just, it's just really insane growth. And
Mhm.
it's a propelling flywheel, where as you get more users and more outfit generations, the model gets better and better. So it's a flywheel that we're really excited to see take off.
For sure. I wanna like ask another question. By the way, want to quickly shout out to Naweed and obviously Gaurav. But so I wanna like learn more about like so when you are thinking about um I guess, like, obviously the founder has the technical expertise as well as, like, a really hardworking person, chip on the shoulder, but, when you're thinking about, I guess, like, the go-to-market distribution, like, who is the, who is, like, this company's, like, primary audience? Like, obviously, I feel like a tech person is very different than, like, um a fashion girly who's like their entire job is like scrolling on TikTok to like find the right outfit. Like, so how do you guys think about like monetization as well? Since obviously I'm sure like these links to the luxury items are gonna have like a huge like percentage cut or like something like that. Maybe if you could share a little bit since you also invest in like Shopify and like some other consumer companies, like why don't we talk about like in the fashion industry, how do you think about how does the money flow? And then why do you feel like this company would be able to become like a billion-dollar business?
That's a really great question. I think to the first point of the audience, what's interesting about Alta is the wide appeal. Like we've seen it incredibly strong with, honestly, just women in their 30s and 40s in the Midwest, like middle America,
Mhm.
as well as Gen Z and 20-year-olds on both coasts. So the wide appeal has been really interesting. And in terms of in the retail space itself, where the money flows, I think is such a great question. And I think retail is such a huge sector.
Mhm.
I mean, I have all the stats in our Shop My launch, I think,
Mhm.
if you want to pull up the Shop My one.
Yeah, I have them open. I was gonna go through each one, but
I
yeah,
think
me
what's
too.
been an exciting development is, I mean, affiliate revenue in the retail space has just been has seen explosive growth in the past decade. And another part in in the consumer sector specifically is that people are willing to pay for services. For example, like there's this in between in AI stylists where there's like a there's like AI enabled human stylist,
Mhm.
kind of in between sector where people are paying $200 to $400 an hour for a human stylist, but you can use technology to hire one and communicate with them. So examples where people are paying for fashion services. Oh, great. Um, yeah, so there are a couple of ways. One is in fashion, there's huge marketing budgets, 50% of revenue going towards marketing. And
Mhm.
so if you look at where that revenue flows, the amount of revenue you can capture by capturing human or consumer loyalty, it is very lucrative. So if you have a platform that has a lot of consumer eyeballs, has a lot of consumer trust, you can command a lot of revenue through that, whether it's by being lead gen for retail brands themselves or for providing services that consumers trust in their shopping journeys. So we're excited, and this opens up all the possibilities from ads to affiliate revenue to subscription to
Mhm.
transaction take, for example.
I wonder, so like when you were thinking about the go-to-market strategy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like ShopMy is very like influencer driven. So like there's a lot of like influencer that will like, put their own like links to their like IG bio or like TikTok bio. But like for Alta, do you feel like the same strategy should apply? So like how do you feel like I guess like for a consumer AI fashion company, like is there like any specific or like any um different like different go to market strategy for people to kind of like discover the product?
What's interesting right now is they haven't spent any uh, paid marketing at all. Like all the growth has been organic. So I think one is the need is so high. Like word of mouth
Mhm,
spread is super viral. When you find something that works, you
mhm,
tell all your friends, and we're really excited about multiplayer mode. So um, like, I would totally go in every day to see
mhm,
what my friends are wearing, like,
mhm,
their outfits of the day, and so there's this social aspect, like the social network aspect that's,
mhm,
very
mhm,
strong, and, that's the mechanism of what created our biggest companies today, like Meta, is that social network effect in addition to, I mean, I think that's the one I'm most excited about, and maybe Jenny. We should bring Jenny on the show. She's
mhm,
fantastic. Um, but in terms of go to market, there's um, this rise of the nano influencer, the
mhm,
micro influencer,
mhm,
where more and more people are
mhm,
becoming so-called influencers
mhm,
or yeah, I would call them creators, and people are trusting these creators more and more, and this is why Shopmy has been such a smash success. Is there's more people becoming these thought creators, these influencers, and
Mhm.
that is a huge strategy in retail where and Alta has seen a lot of organic influencers, like they've
Mhm.
seen these little spikes just from influencers themselves loving the product and then posting about it. And so
Mhm.
that's another very viral mechanism we've seen. And of course, there's still paid marketing, but I think everyone's been trying to spend less and figure out how to escape the
Mhm.
clutches of Meta and Google.
Mm. I,
And
yeah,
also there's this rise. I mean, we've seen search engine volumes drop by up to 50% for sectors, and all of that volume is going into the LLMs. So I think there's something to be said about becoming the market leader and being known for being good and having that manifest in showing up in LLM results. So that's actually also a huge lead gen now, is just being good and
Mhm.
having people share and write about you in established media outlets. Like
Mhm.
Alta was highlighted in pretty much every fashion outlet like Vogue,
Mhm.
etc. And that matters because if you go ask any LLM like
Mhm.
what is the best AI stylist, Alta will come up, and that's also a great lead gen.
Mm, I wonder, so how do you think about like the diligence process? So there's like the sourcing aspect, the person is your friend from school, but like how do you think about diligencing when you're writing a check? Like I'm sure you have probably talked to like thousands of like consumers, but is there like a like process that you typically follow through on, like, let's say talking to three potential clients or like, five of their actual customers? Like, what are, I guess, like the question that you would ask the people, and then who would you ask?
I feel like there's like five questions in there, and there's different levels. So
Mhm.
at a first pass, it would be the basics: the
Mhm.
founder, the market, the product. And
Mhm.
as a consumer investor, I always play with it. Like if a consumer founder comes to me and says, I have this vision to do X, Y, and Z, I'm
Mhm.
like, okay, well, where's the demo? Where do I play with it? Because in today's age, if you're building anything consumer, you could vibe code that. Like,
Mhm.
you should at least have a working prototype. And
Mhm.
so it's very important to understand you can feel their vision and their product capability just in the look and feel and functionality of whatever they're looking to build. So I think in consumer especially, maybe less so for SaaS, but in consumer it's you just have to be able to play with it and feel that either the utility or the delight or whatever.
Mhm.
So that the top three: product, founder, market. In terms of market, it's does it provide, and we often talk about jobs to be done. Does it provide that job to be done at a level where someone would either pay for it or tell their friend about it or use it again and again, use it next week.
Mhm.
And then as you go further in diligence, then there's the customer calls, the um, if it's an app, it's app store reviews. It's I would read through all the reviews across all sites as a customer sentiment mark, and I think that's kind of the early high level. And later on, diligencing the founder, then talking to everyone they've not everyone, talking to people they've worked with in the past, getting a sense of what they're like as a leader.
Mm. Would you like let the founder know, like, hey, I'm gonna DM some of your like past employee or like past like employers to like chat about the work experience, or like would it be more towards like a background check, as like, like you don't say anything to them, but like you try to figure out like
Founders generally know that's part of the standard diligence process, and usually the founders themselves give us their list, and we can
Mhm.
supplement with people we know. But yeah, usually we would ask the founder to provide some references.
I wonder, so like since like beyond the like fashion industry, you also invest in like AI gaming company as well as like the code review companies, like and AI research company. I wonder, so like, is there any particular area that you're currently deeply researching on? And can you walk us through like some of the, I guess, research process in like a specific industry? Whether it's like Alta, since like we spend so much time on the fashion, but like we could totally pivot onto something else. But like, I wonder, how do you think about like studying a particular industry? Do you have to look at like quote unquote every single company on like the market map to like understand the industry, or do you feel like it's a lot depends on like the founder and the team, like how unique they are? um like, how do you process the, I guess, like the competitor landscape? Since like, I feel like for gravity, like I don't know
Oh,
if I pronounced it right.
graphite.
Yeah, graphite. I feel like I think I met someone who invested as like an angel investor for this company. But like, I wonder, like, for example, AI powered like developer productivity tool. There's like many different tools like AI agents that are doing code review or like doing QA testing or doing like yesterday I was like looking at the newest like batch of YC companies. They're doing AI agent that are like on call to do your work. So like and then also like one day at my dinner there was like a person building engineers to manage the engineers, like using AI agent or like AI agent engineer manager basically. How do you think about in the developer landscape that like what is actually something like really meaningful to build?
Yeah, so in terms of thesis building, we go both, or I go both bottoms up and tops down. So bottoms up is you look around and you go talk to the best people that you think are out there. So just the best founders, whether it's in their background experience or in their kind of standout skill set, and you go see what the best of the best are working on. And then the tops down is looking at whether it's macro trends or it's a little bit like trying to predict the future, but you can break that down into where is revenue flowing. There's different frameworks you can adopt. Like, for example, one framework was just looking at share of wallet, where
Mhm,
for an average consumer, where are they spending their money? Where does the bulk of someone's paycheck go to? And go see how that can be optimized. So there's different frameworks to go top down. And then one is trying to preempt that because their share
mhm,
of wallet today might not be their share of wallet tomorrow.
mhm,
So then it's looking at platform shifts, technology shifts. So right now, Menlo Ventures,
mhm,
we're very, we like to say we're all in on AI. So AI
mhm,
is a huge, you can argue, arguably a platform shift. So
mhm,
what are the new capabilities? What is the new flows that are happening, um, that we can investigate, and just think from first principles, what does AI enable?
mhm,
And that's how we came up with the AI democratization of services. And that's how we came to Alta. So it's the
mhm,
AI stylist as part of that thesis around democratization of services that were previously unavailable to the mass consumer.
mhm,
Does that answer your question? So with graphite, it was both.
mhm,
It was both. So I also I know the founders really well from Harvard, and I've seen them through the founding journey, and they're just some of the most hardworking, thoughtful people. And then also from tops down, it's the proliferation of vibe coding, and
mhm,
with that proliferation of so much AI written code, it's what is the counterbalance to that, and AI code review, and the space is evolving so quickly. It's investing in a team that we know will evolve with the space as well.
mm. I wonder, so like, is there like for the AI coding arena in general? So like, I feel like the other day I went to like a AI engineer dinner. So like literally people's biggest concern is like, oh, what if like I rely so much on AI? Obviously AI will not be like 100% like as like if I write the code myself, but like people are really heavily lean towards like using AI to like do as much as possible. Like people are fear of like they're getting lazier. I don't even know that was supposed to be like a concern, but like
No,
I
it's
wonder.
we saw it in our survey. People are afraid of becoming dumber and slower if they put too much of their brain horsepower on AI.
Yeah, so I thought that was like super funny. But how do you think about like which part of the coding or like the engineering journey will be fully replaced by AI? And then what are something that's like, people still have to do it themselves? And then obviously there's like some really huge company in the web coding space, let's say like Cursor or like their competitors. Like, how do you think about what are some other things that people can still build to improve the coding journey to become like that kind of like billion-dollar business in the AI coding domain?
Yeah. You're very good at the compound questions.
I'm really sorry. Like, yeah, like
No,
I'm a
no, no, no. You're,
multi-question asker. It's just
well,
like my
so
brain is like very.
the first part of the question was what will humans still do in the future and what will they not do? And I think what they won't do is, honestly, I think it's a lot of writing code. Like I still remember in all my CS classes, just the amount of time I spent trying to debug something because there was a semicolon missing. Like that should humans should not deal with that. And that's one of the reasons I didn't become an engineer is the process of writing code itself. It's tedious. And even today, we're already seeing this interesting phenomenon where a lot of engineers are using voice to code because now you don't have to you can literally code with just speaking into it because um, that abstraction has already happened where you don't have to be there typing in every semicolon dash dot code. And what I think will not be replaced by AI, at least in the near future, is the architecting of the system. So high level kind of understanding the job to be done or understanding what you're setting out to do and then architecting the system in the most efficient way to be able to get that job done, but then also understanding how it needs to integrate with the rest of the platform. I think there's this debate of, do you need to get a STEM degree? Do you need to get a CS degree? I do think that still helps you with the way you think. And it's still important to understand how to architect systems.
Mm. I wonder, so like, why is architecture of the system couldn't be like replaced by AI? Because I kind of like also like the other day, the former chief product officer of like Nextdoor on our show, she's building an agent to manage AI agent, which is like some sort of like architecture of the agentic system. So how do you think about like why like I guess like
And that's why I said
all.
in the near term, because I do think in the future term, I think it is possible. Um, and today it does a horrible job at it. I know people who relied on AI to answer architecture questions and code it in in their interviews and completely bombed it. No, it's a good question. I think in the future, does it take over that as well? Honestly, I mean, for me, honestly, I think in the far future, and I don't know if that far future means 10 years or 5, there is like that probably will also be done by AI. So I think that's someone said the other day, um, they're now hiring more PMs than engineers, which is funny because when I was a PM, the ratio was like 1 to 12 or something. And now I think someone was saying the ratio is like 1 to 1, and PM to engineer. So is the skill moving forward like what are humans here for? It's a philosophical question. I think it's ironic because I went to a liberal arts school and got a liberal arts degree and thought that was had a chip on my shoulder about not getting that CS degree. And who knows, like I think maybe in 10 years, like just that nuanced understanding of what makes humans work will be more important than the actual
Well,
implementation of tech. Who knows?
that's so deep. On that note, I want to be mindful of the time. Maybe we do one real question and then 1 minute like fire round. Uh, so the last real question is like about like winning deals. Like, so obviously, I feel like there's always like a hot AI company that's coming out daily. So like, how do you think about like preparing yourself to, you know, creating value for the founder as well as like just like generally like winning like a very competitive rounds?
I think it's deeply understanding the founder mindset. What do founders need desperately? And
Mhm.
having been a founder, it's always customers, hires, really those two. Like, can you get them customers? Can you get them hires? Can you take something off their plate? And how do you show that you can be value add, strategic partners? And so, yeah, I think it's just understanding the founder mindset, what that founder specifically is struggling with, and just being helpful, like as helpful as I can be.
Mm. Okay, so let's end with like a 1 minute fire round. So what's your favorite book?
My favorite book, I mean, I don't know why this came up, but I was just thinking about Ender's Game and
Wow.
how cool that world was.
Who made the biggest impact in your career?
I feel like just off top of my head right now, I think right now it's like Amy Wu and Sean Carolyn at Menlo Ventures. I
Mhm.
think they've shaped a lot of my thinking, and I very much am um, inspired by the way they invest in the them as humans.
Mm. Who would you invite to your dinner party?
Who would I invite to a dinner party?
Mhm.
Um, ooh, um, I would love to chat right now with probably Andre Karpathy about what he's working on in education.
Mm. Where can we find you outside of work?
At a stand-up comedy show.
Oh, love. Who is your favorite comedian? That's like the last question.
Ooh, the last guy I saw. Um, hmm. I'm trying to think. There's so many that I like. Probably. That's hard having me pick a favorite. I'm gonna say Gary Goldman.
Love. Okay, so, well, Cece, thank you so much for coming on the show
I can't
today.
believe you did it. I thought this whole time I was waiting for the question of are the real question, are we sisters?
Oh,
Are we
yeah. Oh
related?
my god. I feel like we're already like, we should be addressing that. Are we related? Yeah. Um,
We'll leave it at that.
exactly. Love that. Well, okay. Thank you so much, Cece, for coming on the show today. It was such a fun conversation.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye, Grace.
Bye. Okay, let me quickly end stream.